Hi everyone and welcome to Brick Arena, and welcome to the third in my series on parting out Lego for your Bricklink store. If you haven't seen parts 1 and 2, I recommend you go back and check those out. Part 1 talked about splitting out the sets and breaking down the components and putting them into the containers, etc., ready for uploading to Bricklink. Part 2 talked about the actual upload process and walked you through step by step how to upload your parts to Bricklink with an explanation on the various fields that you'd need to set and the values that are within those fields. This part is going to focus on using a program called Brickstock to manage your parts and to upload them to Bricklink. So let's get started. So here I am in my browser, and the first thing I want to do is show you how to find the program Brickstock. So if we type in Brickstock into my browser here, you're probably going to find it pretty quickly. Here there is a link to Brickstock, so it's at brickstock.patrickbrands.com. So if we click on that link, you can see the URL here, and by default it will show you the download option for your own operating system. Now I'm on a Mac, so it's showing me Mac OS X, but it is available for Windows, and it looks like you can download the source code for this as well, because it is an open source program. There are registration details below if you want to purchase it, though you can run it in a demo mode to try it out. So I have got Brickstock loaded already. So here I am in the Brickstock application itself, and a quick explanation. Obviously we've got a row of icons in a menu bar here across the top, and down the left hand side we'll see various pieces of information and links to websites, etc., as we start to build out our list that we want to upload to Bricklink. So to get started, we want to create a new document, and we do that by clicking on this white document icon, and this will give us an untitled page here. So what we want to do now is add a set to this document, and this is to adding the set that we want to actually part out. So I'm going to click on this add items icon. So when I click that, I'm provided with a dialog box that allows me to search for parts, minifigures, instructions, and all sorts of other things. I'm going to be looking for a set. I'm going to search across all items, so that will give me a list of all of the sets in the database here. And I need to look for my set number, which in my case is 40261, which is this Thanksgiving set. So I'm going to select the set. I can see a little picture of it in the bottom left here, and the way I've got this displayed at the moment, I can see a current value for this set. I'm going to say that the set's condition is new, and what I'm going to do is click add to add that to my document. Now once I've clicked add, I'm done, and I can close this dialog down. So now we've closed the dialog down, we can see the entry here in my document. So this is for a quantity of 1 of the Thanksgiving set 40261. Now what we need to do is we need to select this set, and I'm going to right click, and this will show me a number of menu options. Now most of these options are available across the top as well, but I tend to use this method of using the right mouse button personally, and what I'm going to do is choose part out item. Now when I click that, I'm presented with another dialog box, and what I want to do here is I want to say how many of these sets I'm actually parting out. And remember, I'm parting out a quantity of 25 of these sets. If you've not watched the previous parts of this series, you'll have seen that I actually parted out 25 of the Thanksgiving sets. So I click OK. And what that does now is you'll notice it's opened up a new document, and this is saying inventory for 40261, and it's giving me an inventory of all of the parts for that particular set with the quantities adjusted in relation to 25 sets of the Thanksgiving set. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is we'll see if I was to scroll down in the list, what this has done is it's put all of the parts in, but down at the bottom here, if you look at this indicator here, you've got a plus sign, you've got some green ticks, and you've got this CP entry at the bottom. Now the CP is showing you an alternative. Now what this is basically is it's kind of saying that this carrot with the bright green top is an alternative to just getting the carrot part itself plus the green carrot top. So it depends how you're going to want to sell these items, if you're going to want to sell it as a whole item or if you're going to want to sell the parts individually. Now I'm going to sell the parts individually, so I'm going to delete this alternative part. So I'm right clicking and I'm going to choose delete from this entry. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything in the list, and I do that by pressing Command A on the Mac. I presume it's Control A if you're on a Windows PC. So that's going to select all of the items in the list. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and click on Consolidate Items, and that's because what I want to do is I want to add the quantities from those items marked with a plus sign, which are the extra items, remember. I want to add those to the same items elsewhere in the inventory. So I'm going to click Consolidate Items, I'm going to click New Lot, and I'm going to say do the same for all the remaining lots. So basically I'm combining everything into one new lot. So press yes, and you'll see that all of those plus signs go away. Okay, so we've got no more plus signs in here at all. Now the only other thing to consider is here this is including minifigures as a whole minifigure. So if you want to part these out, as I do, you've got two options. One is to select it, right click, click the part out item, and we want a quantity of 25 of these, remember. So I'm clicking OK, and that's now built a new inventory for that minifigure. Now you can either handle this inventory from this document and remove the whole minifigure from the other inventory, or you can copy these, paste them in to this inventory. So I did that simply using normal Command C and Command V options to paste them back in, and then I'm going to delete that other minifigure document, and I'm also going to remove it from my list. And then I'm going to do the same with the other minifigure. So right click, part out item, I want 25 of these, copy them, Command C, back to my other document, and Command V. And then I'm going to delete my other document. Now at this point, what I normally do, as I explained in the second part of my series, is I tend to upload my items or manage them based on color. This just allows me to batch the process a little more. So if I'm short on time, I can just process all of the yellow parts or all of the green parts and get them uploaded to my store and come back to the other parts or at another time. So what I'm going to do is just click on the color column here, which sorts all of the items by color. Now I didn't delete my minifigure, so I need to right click and get rid of my minifigure. So I can sort these by color, either ascending or descending. And those of you who watched the second part of my series, you'll know that some of these items have already been uploaded to my store. So I'm going to remove those items, and those were effectively the yellow items and the tan items. So I can, to pick a range, I can simply select one line, hold the shift key, and then select the line that I want to at the end of the list, and that will select everything between both points. Then I can right click and delete those. And if I want, I can go through and look at some of the other items that we dealt with in the previous video, which was both of these leaf parts. So again, another method of selecting here is to select one line, hold the command key, and select another line while holding that command key. So that will select multiple lines there. Right click and delete those. So that's just me tidying up my list a little bit. So what I'm going to do now at this point is I'm going to save this document so that I can come back to it over the coming day or week. That's the beauty of this particular method, is I don't have to upload everything in one go. I can simply save the document, and as I upload, I can remove items from the list, save it again, and then come back to it at a later date. But let's get back to how we get these uploaded to Bricklink itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the green items here. So that's those items here. Well, first of all, I need to find out if I already have some of these parts in some of my containers already. And I also need to set a price for these. Now, let's take setting the price first, because Brickstock, I think I'm right in saying, has been developed by an American, because there is certainly a bias in terms of usage of the system towards those who live in the US, or at least those who manage their Bricklink stores using the dollar currency. Now, I myself, being in the UK, tend to value my store in Great British pounds rather than US dollars, and that's where this particular program can cause a little bit of an issue. So if you happen to be in the US, let's cover that first. On the right hand side here, you'll notice a twisty here for the price guide. Now that means you can select an item, and you can look at what the average sales price was, or all-time sales, etc., for this particular part. And if you wanted to set the price of this particular line to, let's say, the average sales price, you can come up to the top here and set this price to the price guide. This will give you a few options: all-time sales, last 6 months sales, and current inventory, and again based on an average. I'm going to choose the last 6-month sales, and that is going to update that price for me. Now, the reason I mentioned about US residents or people managing the stores in dollars is because what this is doing is it's taking the dollar amount and adding it in here, which means if I went to upload this to my Bricklink store, it wouldn't be right. It would actually input the value into Bricklink as if it were in pounds. So the conversion doesn't happen at all between US dollars and UK pounds, which means I'm unable to take advantage of the automated price guide setting. And by the way, if you're in the States, you can very simply just select all line items and then click on set to price guide, and it will just do everything in one go. So if I was in the US, this would be absolutely fantastic and be an enormous time saving for me. But I'm not in the US, and those of you out there who are not in the US are not really going to be able to use this method. If anybody knows a workaround around this, then please do let me know, but I'm not aware of anything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set the price back to 0 for all of these items. So I'm hitting price set, and I'm going to set these to 0. So you see now that all of the prices have gone back to 0. So what I need to do, or at least this is the way I do it, so I want to now price this item. This price guide is no good to me because it's in US dollars. So what I need to do is I select the item here and I click on this link over here to Bricklink, which will open up the browser and show me the price guide in the browser. So I can now see that the price for this part in GBP is actually 0.086 pence. Now, of course, the benefit of doing it this way is it allows me to choose what price I want to set more specifically, because if I look at this part here, the average price is 0.086, but I've got to get a long way down the list before I'm kind of bettering anybody's price for this item. Now that's not necessarily a bad thing, because you know, people come to your store not necessarily to buy this particular part, but they might pick this up along with a range of other parts that you have in your store. So I do still tend to stick to the average price. I don't like to, you know, get involved in the race to the bottom to just sell the part at the cheapest possible price. I don't think that does anybody any good on Bricklink whatsoever. So going back to the tool here in Brickstock, I set the price to 0.086 and I press enter. Now, because I've got 25 of them, it tells me that those are now worth $2.15. Of course, these dollars now, I'm entering GBP prices. We can ignore the dollar symbol because these are going to go up to Bricklink as a GBP price. Okay, so then it gets a bit repetitive. I need to go through each of those particular items and get the price. So these are 0.082. And just carry on picking up the prices. And I think at this point a lot of you will be thinking, well, why not just upload via Bricklink, because that way you can set your prices, just change that, that way you can automate the setting of your prices for your own currency. But the big benefit of Brickstock for me is that ability to save the document, to be able to come back to it multiple times over a period of time, just upload 1 or 2 or 10 parts, however many I want at a time, in one session of sitting down and working on my store, and then I can save the document wherever I left off and come back and start all over again. That's the real power of Brickstock for me, apart from a few other things. But let's continue with this. And let's just do these last two green items. And the last one. So looks a bit tedious, and it kind of is, but it really doesn't take that long to input the prices like this. Now here's where it gets really good though, in my opinion. Because now if I want to upload to Bricklink, I can just select those items. I then use the Command E option to export. You don't really see anything happening, but then I'm going to use the Command U option, and it's going to say, do I want to export only the 6 items that I've got selected from my list? Now I'm going to say yes. Now what that's going to do is it's going to then open a Bricklink for you automatically in the browser, and it's ready to mass upload your inventory. Now I'm going to consolidate all of these parts with my existing stock, but what I want to do initially is take off the new remarks, because I want to see on the next screen exactly which storage locations any existing parts that I've got are stored in. And then what I'm going to do is in this middle box I'm going to input the file that was stored in memory from Brickstock. So Brickstock, when I exported, put the file into memory, and I just need to right click and click paste in here, and then I'm going to come down and click on verify file. Now what that's doing is showing me a list of parts that will be consolidated with existing stock, and because I put in to use the old remarks, it's showing me the stock location where these particular parts are stored. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put these parts away into their stock locations. So here I am with the first item, which is a 2x4 green plate, and these need to be consolidated with the part that is in MAP 14 location. And this is where life as a Bricklink seller gets a bit difficult and a bit frustrating, because the amount of parts that are in the cup here ready to be consolidated will not fit into this location. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to remove these parts from this location and store them in another location, which for now is going to be in a pick-a-brick cup. So we're going to move back to our Brickstock application, and in the remarks column we're going to enter a location in here. In this case I'm putting pick-a-brick cup, which honestly isn't particularly ideal, but will do for the purposes of this demonstration. Now what we have got down here, what I tend to do is, as I'm making space available, I tend to try and fill it back up as soon as possible. And I can see that there's a part here at line item 6 which isn't going to be consolidated and will need to go somewhere. So I'm now going to put that into storage location MAP 14. So again, I go back to Brickstock, put in MAP 14, and then I'm ready to go back to the next item. And the next item is in container MAQ 10. So I get MAQ 10, and I'm hoping these are going to fit into this location. And they will go in there just about. So we go back to here and put in MAQ 10, press enter, and then we move on to the other two items, which are in SAQ. So I need to get that container, which is SAQ. These are in SAQ 10, and you can see that those are stored in there with a totally different part altogether. Sometimes I will do this if I've got an overflow. I'll just let that spill into the next container. Not ideal again, I know, but sometimes I just have to do that. So let me go back here and put in SAQ 10, and then SAQ 08. Well, there's no way those are going to fit all of these into that bin, so I'm going to have to remove those and put those into another location as well. Again, this is part of the frustrations of being a seller. As you're adding parts to your stock, continually having to move parts from one container to another size container. So bear with me a second, I'll just get these to another location and I'll be right back. Okay, so you should see now that I've managed to move all of these to location I-30. So I'm going to come back to Brickstock and put these into location I-30. And then I've got one more part in here, which is this particular part. And because I've just emptied the location again, SAQ 08, I'm going to put those into that very location. Again, just refilling the location as I empty it. SAQ 08. Okay. Now, you'll notice at the bottom here, there's an upload file button. At this point, you don't want to click that because this isn't now representing the locations that we've said we've uploaded them to. So what I need to do is go back to Brickstock, now that I've added in all of my remarks, all of my prices, and re-export. So I do the same, Command E, Command U, and export these parts. So it'll fire up a whole new page. This time I want to consolidate with the new price and with the new remarks, and I'm going to paste in again my XML file and press verify file, and now I have got all of my parts in the correct location, correct quantities, and I can see that those few parts have a value of £32.40, and I can upload that file. So that's all my inventory uploaded for those materials, and I can, at this point, if I want, send out my wanted list notifications, which I always recommend doing immediately after uploading your stock. And now what's important is to go back to Brickstock and to delete those items from your list because you've now uploaded those. So I delete those entries and then I immediately save my list. ready to come back to for the next batch. Of course, I can move on to another colour. I could have done as many of the colours all in one batch as I wanted, but I wanted to do a small sample to just show you again how the process worked. So it's simply a case of coming through, repeating again, inputting prices, inputting your remarks, and exporting using the Command E and U options. So that's pretty much it for how Brickstock works. It seems really complicated in terms of working through it now. I guess you have to decide what are the main advantages between uploading via Bricklink or by Brickstock. Now, Bricklink is going to be able to populate all of the prices for you automatically, but the big downside for me is if you're parting out a really big set, I'm never usually in a position to be uploading the entire inventory in one setting, or one sitting rather. By the time you have to go and find where your existing stock is, consolidate them together, it's really a time-consuming process, so I just don't have the time. So I prefer Brickstock because it allows me to batch upload different combinations of parts. If I want to, I can just get one part uploaded to Bricklink really quickly. So you really just have to pick your favorite application in this particular case. But I hope that's given you a flavour of Brickstock. Of course, there's lots of other things you can do with Brickstock as well to help you manage your inventory or reprice it. But that's, other topics that we won't get into today. So I hope you found it useful. If you did, give me a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe to the channel for any future Bricklink tutorials or for some of my Lego hauls or city updates. And I hope you found it useful, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye for now.